Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating, two huge concepts, karma and reincarnation.
Yeah, big topics.
Definitely. And we're looking at them through the lens of Theosophy, which offers this incredibly detailed, sort of unique perspective. Our mission here is to kind of pull out the core ideas from the sources we've looked at, give you a shortcut to understanding these really profound concepts.
And what's key right away in Theosophy is seeing karma as, well, the law of laws. It's not just about morals.
Right.
It's built into the fabric of existence. It pops up right when creation starts. It's there to keep things balanced, basically. Stop chaos as the universe, unfolds after a rest period. And you'll see how karma and reincarnation, they're completely tied together, like twin sisters, they often say. One needs the other.
That's a really strong start. You said karma begins with the stirrings of the absolute. Can you unpack that a bit? What is the absolute in Theosophy?
Okay, so the absolute, it's described as this unknowable one life, the single reality behind everything. It has these massive cosmic cycles, like its own days of activity and nights of rest. Our universe, that's like a day for the absolute.
Wow.
And it's called absolute because, well, there's nothing outside it. It's beyond what we can really grasp or define right now. We're trying to put a label on it, give it a reason that actually diminishes it. The whole point of evolution over ages and ages is meant to expand our minds enough to even start to contemplate it directly.
That is seriously mind-bending. This idea of an unknowable, a darkness or mother deep that the absolute stirs within. It reminds me of Genesis. The Spirit of God moved over the face of the waters. Is that similar?
It's a very strong parallel, actually. That mother deep, you can think of it as the sort of mystical womb, the potential space where everything comes from.
Okay.
And the Spirit, the Father, stirs it up and boom, creation. The child. But that first split, the one becoming two, spirit and matter, that immediately creates duality, differences, potential imbalances.
Right. The need for balance arises instantly.
Exactly. And karma is that inherent law, always working to bring things back to equilibrium. As creation keeps unfolding, new issues, new imbalances pop up constantly. And karma just keeps working relentlessly, trying to harmonize everything. Though, perfect balance for the whole cycle only happens right at the very end of that cosmic day.
Okay, so if karma is this fundamental balancing act, reincarnation then becomes, well, necessary, right? You mentioned this cyclic law. Everything moves in cycles.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Reincarnation is just part of that universal pattern. We tend to think of it just for humans.
Yeah, usually.
But Theosophy said it applies everywhere. Flowers reincarnate in spring.
Huh.
You reincarnate in a way. Every morning you wake up. It's a universal law. So karma and reincarnation, those twin sisters, are totally linked because karma creates consequences, effects from causes.
And one life isn't enough time.
Often not, no. Especially if things get more complex. You need more time, more experiences to adjust things, to learn, to balance the books, so to speak. So countless lifetimes become necessary for every single entity to account for its actions and evolve. It's this ongoing adjustment.
So what does this really mean for us listening right now? It means if you haven't, I guess, sorted everything out in this life.
Or learned all the lessons.
Right, or even dealt with stuff from previous lives, then another lifetime is basically required.
And this cycle goes way back to when we first emerged as human beings. It really shows why they call karma the law of laws. It underpins the whole evolutionary journey.
So who or what actually experiences this karma? Is it my physical body? My everyday thoughts?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
No, it's not the temporary bits. Not the physical body that's gone after death. Not even the lower mind. The part worrying about traffic or what's for dinner.
Okay.
Those are tools for the incarnation, but they get shed. It's the spiritual self, the deeper, enduring part of you. That's what's responsible for the actions taken through those tools. And that's what reaps the karmic results. Because it's the spiritual self that keeps coming back, keeps reincarnating, learning, growing, cycle after cycle.
Which brings up a question lots of people have. What about kids? How does karma work for children? Say, a child born with an illness or into really difficult circumstances.
Yeah, that's a sensitive and complex area in Theosophy. The idea is that a child isn't fully directly connected to its own individual spiritual self until around age 7.
Really?
7,
Yeah.
around that age, yeah. So the karma a young child experiences being born rich or poor, healthy, or with challenges that's seen mostly as shared karma.
Shared karma, like
Yeah.
group karma.
Exactly. It could be family karma, maybe national karma, or tied to a larger group they belong to from past collective actions. Their personal spiritual karma, the direct results of their individual past lives, doesn't fully kick in until after that age 7 point. It kind of lines up with that old saying, give me a child until he is 7, and I'll give you the man.
Because so much conditioning happens before then.
Right. The personality gets shaped significantly before that deeper spiritual awareness fully connects and takes the reins, karmically speaking.
That distinction is fascinating. Okay, let's talk about karma playing out. The sources give this amazing example. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the Sherlock Holmes guy.
The manuscript story.
Exactly. He wrote his first novel all by hand, sent it off,
Oh.
and the publisher lost it, completely gone. He had to rewrite the entire thing from memory. How is that karma?
Well, that's a classic example of what Theosophy might call karma, resulting from wasted opportunity in a past life.
Wasted opportunity. How so?
The idea is life gives us chances, talents. If you had, say, a writing talent in a past life but didn't use it, or maybe misused it, or gave up on a key project, karma might bring you back to a similar point. Conan Doyle, facing that huge hurdle, rewriting a whole book, tested his willpower like nothing else.
You can only imagine.
It forced him to prove his dedication, and really earn his success as a writer. So, you see, karma isn't just punishment. It's often this push. It pushes us to overcome obstacles, sometimes really tough ones, to ultimately realize what Theosophy calls our immense potentiality, which is, believe it or not, seen as the potential of a god.
Wow. So thinking about this for you, the listener, when you hit a wall, face something that feels incredibly hard or unfair. It might be karma nudging you, maybe pushing you to make up for a past mischance, urging you out of your comfort zone to unlock something bigger within yourself.
Exactly right. And that reinforces the idea that karma is fundamentally just. It only brings back to you what you put out there. The sources are clear. You're not ultimately suffering because of what someone else did to you. Other people might be the agents.
The delivery system.
Kind of, yeah. They're the agents bringing the consequences of your past actions, even if you don't remember those actions from this life or way back. It's your energy coming back to you.
That really shifts how you might view difficult relationships or events. Okay, so actions. It's not just physical stuff, right? What about thoughts, feelings? Do they count?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. In Theosophy, actions include thoughts and feelings. They're definitely energies we generate.
So every grumpy thought matters.
Well, the key things are intent and frequency. A fleeting negative thought, maybe not much weight, but consistent, strong, energetic, negative patterns, like constant criticism of others, deep-seated prejudice, holding on to resentment. Those absolutely generate difficult karma because they send out that energy, and like attracts like.
So it draws similar negativity back to you down the line?
That's the principle, which makes self-awareness crucial. Theosophy talks about discrimination here, not judging others, but discerning your own patterns, paying attention to what you're thinking and feeling habitually.
That makes a lot of sense. And does this law stretch even further beyond individuals, beyond families?
Yeah.
What about, say, the whole planet?
Does. The scale is vast. There's family karma, societal karma, national karma, the karma of humanity as a whole,
Wow.
the karma of all life on Earth, and yes, the planet Earth itself is considered to have its own karma.
The Earth has karma.
Yes. And humanity's collective karma is seen as part of Earth's karma. It's a sobering thought, right? Harming the planet, polluting. It's essentially creating negative karma for ourselves collectively and contributing to the planet's karmic load. Though it's also taught that Earth is this immensely powerful spiritual being capable of handling and processing this. But our actions definitely impact that larger planetary balance.
That scale is incredible. Okay, let's zoom back into the individual journey. What happens after this life? After so-called death? You said nothing truly dies.
Right, it's a change of condition. The first major stage described is a past life review.
A review, like watching a movie.
Something like that, but much deeper. The spirit is said to journey back and forth through the life just lived, from the end right back to the beginning and forward again. The purpose isn't judgment, but understanding. Seeing the connections between actions and consequences, feeling how your actions affected others, deeply getting it. And from that profound understanding, the spirit starts to sort of instinctively grasp what lessons are still needed, what amends must be made. That shapes the intention for the next life. Karma then helps arrange the circumstances.
Yeah. So that helps explain why people are born into such different situations. The whole prince versus pauper thing. It's not random.
Not random at all, according to this view. After that life review, the spirit is naturally drawn towards the circumstances, wealth, poverty, specific family, particular challenges that are best suited for its next stage of growth.
So being born poor isn't necessarily bad karma.
Not necessarily. It could be exactly what that spirit needs to develop strength, resilience, compassion. Think of how many incredible figures rose from poverty. And wealth brings huge responsibilities, its own tests. The idea is, over many lives, all souls experience the whole spectrum to gain a complete education. After that initial life review, there's typically a period spent in what's called the astral afterlife. This can last potentially hundreds of years in our terms.
Hundreds of years. Wow. What happens there?
It's described as a realm where souls gravitate towards others on similar emotional and mental levels, like attracts,
Makes sense.
And here, the astral body, the sort of emotional or desire body, is said to function at its best, free from the physical pains and limitations of earth life. It's a time for processing the emotional residue of the life lived.
So is this where heaven and hell come in? Are those real places in Theosophy?
Not in the traditional Christian sense of fixed eternal places. Theosophy teaches that you make your own hell and you make your own heaven. Through your actions, thoughts, and feelings during life. You experience the consequences subjectively, often on these inner planes after death. If you lived a life full of negativity, your subjective experience there might be hellish. If you cultivated love and compassion, it might be heavenly, but it's self-created, not imposed from outside.
Okay, what about people who die very suddenly or tragically by suicide? Lives cut short.
That's addressed too. Life is seen as having a certain energy, a momentum. If a life ends significantly before its natural span, say, someone in their 20s or 30s takes their own life, the soul might remain in a kind of limbo state.
Limbo.
Yeah, sort of hanging around near the earth plane until the natural death point would have occurred. Because the life energy hasn't fully run its course, there isn't really an afterlife state ready for them yet, in a sense. But, and this is crucial, it's emphasized that angelic beings, guides, are always there to help these souls. They aren't alone or abandoned.
That's important.
And time is subjective there. Also, sometimes, in cases of very premature death, a very quick rebirth might happen instead. It varies. And we should mention the law of necessity regarding reincarnation. For most of us, it's not really a choice.
We have to come back.
Pretty much, yeah. Because of our tangled karma, our stage of evolution, we're drawn back by necessity. The choice to reincarnate or not is really only for very highly evolved beings. Beings like Buddhas or the masters in Theosophy who've achieved liberation. They could enter nirvana, blissful freedom. But often, out of compassion, they choose to come back to help humanity.
Like the example of Jesus living just 33 years for a specific mission.
Exactly. That's seen as a choice driven by compassion, not karmic necessity.
Okay, so after the astral period, you mentioned a second death. What's that?
Right. The second death is another transition. It's when the spirit lets go of the lower mental self, the everyday thinking mind, and the emotional nature. Those principles are sloughed off, just like the physical body was earlier.
So what's left?
What remains is the higher part of the spirit, often described as a trinity. The higher mind, manas, the intuitive loving nature, buddhi, and the divine spark, atma. This higher trinity then enters a state called Devachan.
Devachan. What's that like?
It's Sanskrit, meaning the shining land or land of the gods. It's described as a period of profound bliss, rest, and assimilation. Here, the spirit doesn't relive earthly events. Instead, it absorbs and integrates only the spiritual essence of the past life. The love, the compassion, the insights gained, artistic inspiration, higher philosophical thought, moments of pure service.
So not the mundane stuff.
No, the purely earthly experiences can't be assimilated at this high level. The length of time spent in Devachan depends on how much spiritual energy, how much of that higher quality stuff was generated during the life.
And after this blissful rest and integration, does the spirit want to come back? It sounds pretty nice there.
Surprisingly, yes. After Devachan, the spirit actively seeks to reincarnate. There's an inner urge to continue the journey, gain more experience, expand consciousness further, and resolve remaining karma.
So how does it find the right circumstances, the right parents, the right time?
It's not like browsing a catalog. It's described as a process of harmonic vibrations. The spirit's accumulated qualities, its tendencies, strengths, weaknesses, its specific karmic needs, attracted to the genetic lines and life situations that resonate with it.
Like attracts, like, again.
Exactly. Angelic beings are said to guide this process, connecting the thread of life from the spirit to the fertilized ovum at conception. That connection starts subtly and strengthens over time, becoming much more direct around that age 7 mark we talked about.
So the circumstances you're born into, even really hard ones, like being an orphan or having a disability,
Are seen as precisely the circumstances that spirit needs for its next step. or perhaps even chosen as a sacrifice or service for the karma of others, like the family group. It all fits into the bigger picture of that spirit's evolution. And just quickly, to loop back to the mind, it's useful to remember that distinction between the lower mind and higher mind.
Right, the everyday thoughts versus...
Versus the higher mind, which deals with abstract principles, universal patterns. It's the source of true inspiration for great art, scientific breakthroughs, profound philosophies, inventors, artists. They often say ideas just came to them. That's seen as insights filtering down from the higher mind into their individual lower mind for expression.
Ah. That could explain why sometimes big discoveries or artistic styles seem to pop up in different places around the same time.
Precisely. Because that higher mind is fundamentally shared. It's like a collective pool of higher thought, while the lower mind is individual.
A shared consciousness.
At that level, yes. And that's how very evolved beings, the masters, are said to influence humanity by seeding ideas into that shared higher mental plane. It's even said that at a certain level, these masters share a kind of collective identity, which is why a student deeply attuned might be able to write or speak as the master, reflecting that unified consciousness.
That's incredible, which brings us right back to the name Theosophy itself. It has a deep meaning, doesn't it?
It really does. It comes from Greek. Theos, meaning of the gods, related to theogony.
Okay.
And Sophia, meaning wisdom. So Theosophy translates literally as wisdom of the gods.
And these gods aren't like Zeus on Olympus.
No, no. In this context, gods refers to these incredibly evolved beings we've been talking about. Beings who've journeyed through countless cycles, far beyond our current human state. They hold the memory of the universe's unfolding, in a sense, and actively help guide humanity's evolution, embodying the vast potential that karma is ultimately pushing all of us to realize.
Wow, what an incredible sweep. We've gone from karma, starting with the absolute, through all the cycles of reincarnation, the journey after death, and the astral and Devachan, and back again, all driving towards this godlike potential.
It's a vast framework. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on. If karma really is constantly pushing us towards realizing this immense potentiality, pushing us to become these powerful, beautiful beings, then what spiritual experiences are you actively seeking or creating in your life right now? What seeds are you planting for your future self, both later in this life and in lives yet to come? What potential is trying to unfold through you?
That is definitely something to reflect on. Thank you for joining us on this really deep dive today. Keep exploring these ideas, keep asking questions. We'll see you next time.